Please listen carefully.
We got 1 minute to show everybody. Somebody hand me those FAFSA forms so I can try and pay for this education. Ready places. Harv and Pawn is live in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Harv, Pawn, Harv, and Pawn, and Harv, and Pawn, and Harv, and Pawn, and Harv, and Pawn, and Harv, and Harv, and Harv, and Harv, Harv and Pawn.
Hello, I am the Ronin Bawn.
And my name is Harvey, and this is the appropriately named Harv and Pawn Show. Or the Harv and Pawn Show. How are you doing today, Pawn?
I'm feeling low-key and energetically low-key. I'm feeling good, though. I woke up feeling nice. How are you doing? He asked knowingly.
I'm doing better than I was doing yesterday. Yesterday, I severely undercooked a salmon fish cake and had a horrible food poisoning for the entire day. So that was fun.
It's always good to have
about okay.
things coming and going from all of the ends that they possibly can. It's always great. It's you know what it is. It's a health program. It's like doing taking those little shots of like that just wheat grass and stuff like that. It's just a way of cleansing. You get everything out all at once. Everyone should give themselves food poisoning on a regular basis. Take my advice, Sir Emo Chappington and Kiddabob and Bevelia and Rudy and Random Aim. Who's cheering 125 1-pound fish? Was it dollar store? Did you get this from Tesco or was it where did you pick up the Poundland fish cake?
It was from Tesco, funnily enough. It wasn't that the fish was a 1-pound fish, it was that I misremembered the amount of time it was supposed to be heated for and then underboiled it deliberately on top of that. So it was half that I was an idiot for not remembering correctly and not thinking to check, and half that I was an idiot for taking the risk even beyond allowing for that. So it was entirely my own fault. Negligence of the highest order.
Yeah, you may have a preference for a steak pink in the middle. You don't want the fish.
I have raw sushi all the time. I love sushi. Why can't I have my salmon fish cake to be like that?
I was actually saying to Harv earlier when he was telling me about this that, that wouldn't happen over here. I mean, that wasn't how I put it, but that wouldn't happen over here because our like food distributors and manufacturers are aware that we are so incredibly stupid that we cannot be trusted with the feeding of ourselves. So all of our frozen food products are basically pre-cooked all the way through, and you just put them in the oven to make them warm again because we're like children. They feed us like they're putting food into a dog bag. This will be good no matter what they do to it, how long they leave it open. Just eat this. Stupid.
Or baby food, where it's just like mush. Mush good stuff.
Pre-cooked, pre-chewed food, pre-digested. No nutritional value.
Some interesting stuff. So, talk about having a steak, which it is good to be rare in the middle. Do you know the reason why you can have rare steak, but not like a rare burger?
No. No, I'm a vegetarian.
Well,
not really. I'm a vegetarian that eats meat sometimes.
Yes. An optional vegetarian.
An occasionatarian.
That's me as well. I'm an occasionatarian. So supposedly the thing with beef in particular is that if there's going to be bacteria on your steak, it's going to be on the surface of the raw steak. And the bacteria generally, I don't think, doesn't transmit through the meat like it does with, say, chicken.
Oh, okay.
So so long as you thoroughly cook the outside of the steak, your inside is okay. The reason that doesn't work for burgers is because burgers are made from mince, and when you mince something, you turn the outside into the inside, so you spread the bacteria everywhere. So that's the reason. And I guess that's the same with the fish cake. Maybe I don't know how. It might just be quality of fish or something like that, but I don't know why certain sushi is okay to eat raw, but those Tesco fish cakes aren't. It must be some sort of quality control.
Have you ever had good and old, like maybe end of the day sushi from the sushi place? We've got, they'll set up in like, our version of Tesco, like Kroger or something like that. Some of the fancier Krogers, they'll have a sushi chef with their own little island in the middle of the like, butcher area of the store thing and making sushi. And, if you come in at like 8 p.m., then they'll have the stuff that their sushi chef prepared at 6 a.m. that morning. And you're, and so you get some nice good and old sushi where the rice is just like this, it's like you're chewing on, like it hadn't been cooked in the first place because it's been sitting there so long. And then in the middle, good, questionably flavored whatever was put into it. California sushi rolls.
I do like California sushi rolls. I can't say that I've had the 6 a.m. until 6 p.m. variety. But, I have had supermarket sushi, which I don't know if you've had supermarket sushi before. It's nothing like actual chef-prepared sushi. It's as close to being plastic as you could get from something that isn't plastic, I think. It's like that toy rice that you would never make for kids because they would swallow it and die.
I actually cooked up some rice, so I haven't, I've lost a lot of days to ME lately, having the myalgic encephalomyelitis. It's just bad to be in a cold place where winters are actual winters. With this condition, I don't get enough, vitamin D from the sun in the first place, and then the sun decides to just flittingly, I'll come up a little bit, but I really can't be bothered, and by 2 p.m., it's already on the horizon and stuff like that, and I think it's been having a bit of an effect on me. Evil Donner Balkan with the subscription, 2 months. Thank you very much, Evil Donner Balkan. But
I don't know, Pawn, you look quite orangey and tan today.
I put in a different bulb. So that's basically. But yeah, I've been having some bad days. I've been losing days for prepping for this show. By the way, we're supposed to talk about like university and college and the pros and cons, and I don't know anything, but I did no prep work for this, so we're just going to talk about what kind of sexual experiences we had while we were at college, I suppose. Experimentation, whatever. No. But yeah, it's because of the ME.
Can we get Julie on here? Should we call her?
Because of the ME, I've had some bad days, and basically, I usually put off going grocery shopping until the last possible moment that I could, and I actually got down to no food in the house, which there's always food in the house. I got beans and stuff. It's just the kind of food that it takes overnight to like prepare. You got to soak it and all that kind of thing. So I ended up making rice, and without a cooker, without like a rice cooker that's got some like pressure to it, that kind of thing, it is really hard to get the right amount of water into rice. I mean, it's just half and half, but it's not. It's half and half plus an extra little bit so that you can lose some of the steam, and then the other thing. And God, I spiced it with Italian spice. The damn thing tasted like a weakly flavored sausage. Like, I really don't know how to make rice is what I'm getting at. Well, I don't know why that's important, but we were, somehow there was rice, and I had recently made rice, and now look, we've been talking for 3 minutes, I've said nothing.
Did you have it with anything else? Was it just rice and Italian herbs?
Oh yeah, well, I didn't, having no food in the house, of course, so it was rice with mayonnaise and mustard. And, some toast with mustard, mayonnaise on the toast as well. That was at least
you
one
had
meal.
toast with it. I mean, God, you would have been a savage otherwise. But
yeah. At the point that you're eating rice with just like burnt bread, it's time to like do some shopping or consider fleeing whatever country it is you're in currently, because it's kind of where these recipes come from. Places where people don't have any money.
Really burn that bread as well. Get the carcinogenic, like.
That's the only place you're gonna get any nutrients is from the carcinogens.
Can you call those nutrients? Rice cooking is an art that I've perfected over my time at university. And the way you do it is pretty straightforward, but you have to follow the formula very strictly, and that's like you said, half and half rice and water in a saucepan, and I wouldn't even say you need the little dash on top, but you just need to make sure you have a lid of some sort, because that helps trap some of the water in. You get the rice up to a boil, and then you lower it to the minimum temperature possible for it to keep on a rolling boil, and then 19 minutes from the point of it starting to boil. 19 minutes.
Oh my God.
And that seems to be the perfect amount of time that it just soaks up all the water, and what you're left with afterwards, you don't even have to drain it or anything, because you just take the rice out and it's fluffy and it's got all the water soaked up, and it's just perfect. This is long grain rice.
I swear we have a brand of rice in this country that's just sold in a box, like Uncle Ben's rice, that is like it says on the package 19 minutes. It's either 18 or 19 minutes, but it says in big bold text on it 19 or 18 minutes on it. So you have, independently confirmed Uncle Ben's brand rice marketing campaign that it only takes, and the other thing is just 6 minutes a day and you can have abs of steel. I mean, if you believe American marketing, absolutely 6 minutes a day.
Isn't Uncle Ben's one of those instant rice things that you do in 2 minutes? If I have to wait 19 minutes for my Uncle Ben's rice, then I think I've kind of defeated the point of buying pre-made rice, right?
Maybe it's Uncle Ben's, maybe they've got a actual rice and not fake tofu rice or whatever they're making the instant rice out of. Basmati does not need that much time, says Sarimo Chevington. Basmati, a rice with flavor. No. You've got that all backwards now. You're supposed to have to put things in the rice for it to have any flavor whatsoever. I actually like white rice. I don't like brown rice. It's just too chewy. And also, we've got a lot of cereals, that are brown rice based cereals that are like popped rice, golden crisp stuff. And because you spend your childhood eating so much of that stuff, when you have proper, cooked brown rice, you're just like, this is wrong. This is warm, soft version of that cereal. No, sir.
See, I was raised on my mum's home cooking of primarily Italian dishes. So a lot of pasta and spaghetti and that kind of stuff.
That's my milieu as well.
So when I went to uni and was able to choose my own diet and choose what I cooked for myself, as a child, the luxury food had always been takeaway Chinese or Indian. And so I just cooked stir fry for myself, which is quite a classic student diet. But the funny thing is that my girlfriend Julie comes from Chinese family, and so she was raised on strictly Chinese Asian food, and to her, going out to a really nice restaurant is more likely to be an Italian restaurant. So we would kind of decide where to go, and I'd always have a little bit of like, well, I mean, if we're going to an Italian place, then I'll probably have pizza just because pasta is like normal. It's like normal food. So yeah, I have a great fondness for cooking white rice, and I actually quite like brown rice though. I don't think I've had the exact same experience with the whole crisp popped brown rice cereal food that you've had. So
gotta
I've
get a
not
taste of
cooked brown
that
rice
sugar
much myself,
crisp,
but-
sugar crisp, sugar crisp.
Do you have Wagamamas in the US?
I do not even
that
recognize that those syllables don't go next to each other, Harv. So no, apparently not.
It's a Japanese chain restaurant. Pretty good. Not too bad. And their brown rice is quite, I don't know whether all brown rice is like this, but it's quite nutty. And it doesn't look brown. It looks white, just with like nuts thrown in. But then you realize that, oh, there's actually no nuts in here. What I've been thinking was nuts was just the rice itself. So it's super nice though, and it makes you feel very good about, I'm getting enough fiber into my gut bacteria and all that.
It's just going to come up if you keep undercooking the fish cakes. Sue Chappington says, I like brown rice more than basmati. I'm just impatient. That is another downside. That's another reason why I don't like brown rice, is it takes so much longer to cook than white rice. White rice just fluffs up and boom, I got it, I can eat it. Brown rice feels like, I just don't like, I say I run out of food, but I got a pantry just full of dried beans and even split peas and stuff like that. I can't be bothered to start soaking something the day before I want to eat it. I don't know what I want to eat tomorrow today.
I've
privileged.
never done that.
I have
never
done
soaked
that.
something overnight.
But the thing is, with a pressure cooker, you can just you don't have to soak it. You could just throw it in there, and 30 minutes later or something like that, boom, you got it. And my mom, I wanted a pressure cooker because when I was at the Zen Center as a Buddhist Zen monk, we had a pressure cooker, an old school pressure cooker that was, stainless steel, just a pot that you put on and you fucking tighten down the thing and you clamps and things like that. And then it just had a pressure valve on the top of it. That thing worked brilliantly. And yeah, sure, if you didn't use it right, it would explode and kill everyone in the room. But it worked. It worked really well. And all you had to do was pay attention. And so she went to get me a pressure cooker. I was like, oh, I wish I had a pressure cooker. I'd make these beans that I got. And I don't have to wait over day. And she bought me this fucking quick pot thing, I guess is what they're calling them, where it's it's a crock pot, but it's a pressure cooker, but it's another, this 3 or 4. You can make stew in it. And first off, It's like 1600 watt. It just draws the maximum like allowable wattage from the socket to electrically heat it. So it's a waste of fucking energy in the first place. Secondly, the damn thing doesn't lock down, so you can't actually get any pressure under it, and you're trying to get the pop on once it's gotten, like, it gets hot, and then it starts out the side, and you're like, oh shit, what have I done wrong? And you're over there trying, and then it burns your hands. It's just a horrible... Why do people keep making improvements to shit that already worked? You know, Red, it's just the mouse trap, it snapped the spine of the mouse every time. Quit fucking with it. God. Something about rice. Rice.
I liked your initial description of the pressure cooker you had in the Zen Center, where you're describing this kind of bank vault worthy level of security where you're tightening the valve here and the clamp there, and someone get the G clamp out and twist that. And okay, you hold down that side, I'll hold down this side, and you watch it while we torture the food that's inside.
But it worked. It was the thing, it worked.
It's like you're not just cooking it, you're subjugating it to hell, and the fires of hell will thoroughly cook the food.
It's in America, we waterboard our food, is what we do.
Submit! Get in my stomach!
But it was great because it was just the simple, just clamp it down, pressure, get it hot, and then when you were done with it, like, you know, with modern shit, it's like, oh, you gotta just use the release valve in order to let off a little bit, and then the steam, because you open the release valve, and it's just spraying out little fucking flecks of like bean and discolored water all over the countertop. This is the modern improvement. And it used to be, it's just a pot that you crank down and it's closed, it's got a seal on it, and then when it was done, you take it, you put it under the stream of cold water, you just run cold water underneath it, the pressure goes away, you could open it up immediately. No big fucking, I mean, it might explode, but you know, run it under there for 3 minutes, you'll probably be fine. Put a towel over your head while you're doing it, just in case. But, it worked, and then everybody keeps improving it with, oh, we got a better version. This is only $60. It's electric. You plug it in. No, it was a pot that you tightened down. It was $30. The fuck? Why do people keep buying this shit?
God.
So anyway, rice. I made some rice the other day. That's what we were talking about. I made some rice the other day. I didn't do it well.
I had a friend who spent a week. He did like a charity fundraising, kind of sponsor me to do a thing I wouldn't normally do, where him and his girlfriend ate only plain rice and beans for a week. Or was it a week? Maybe it was 2 weeks, something like that. Bad signs of it. You might have done that just by virtue of not having anything in the house.
Yeah, kind of. Now that
Has
I
that
do,
been a week straight where you've eaten?
Well, I did like a half shopping run the other night. Finally, I had food in the house, and so the first thing I did, because I made a big, you don't make rice and make like one serving of rice because it's a fucking pain. So you make, enough to go for a couple of days. I made a pot of rice, and so finally I got food in the house. Ooh, what do? I'll open a can of refried beans and eat refried beans and rice. So yeah, I kind of have been doing that diet. And Bavaria enhanced cooking techniques. That's right. That's what we do. That's why we keep Guantanamo open, just full of chefs, just beating the shit out of produce. Why did you say that name? Who's Martha? Tell us about the drugs.
How long does basmati take to cook then? Everyone's complaining that normal rice takes so long to cook.
I don't know.
Basmati that quick?
I just know that I prefer basmati over all of them because it's got its own flavor to it, and if you have a little saffron, which I don't think I've ever had saffron in my life. It's such an expensive spice. But yeah, the color and I like a basmati. It's got its own thing going on, as opposed to just being gluten. We actually used to at the Zen Center. We starched our just a couple of times because the Zen master wanted us to like know what it was like in the olden days kind of thing, but just a couple of times when it was important, when we were going somewhere. Funny because like obviously the better method would be to use the like modern, convenient, it actually works well solutions for this when you're going somewhere important. But instead, we'd be going somewhere important to show off, and we would starch, we would do our clothes in the starch from rice. So we would just soak rice in cold water overnight. The fucking, starches would come out of it, and then we'd dip our... And I'll tell you what, if you want a piece of clothing to look like there is a human being in it, or just look like there's a piece of sheet metal cut out, it's that rigid, just shove it in some rice water that you've made. It is the best starching that I've ever seen in clothing.
How do you starch rice then? You just leave it in water for a long time, or?
Yeah, I think all we did, I don't think we even like boiled it or anything. We just maybe overnight, we just poured some rice in the bottom of some water, stirred it up, let it sit. And in the morning you got this, stir it back up. You got this cloudy white water and just start dipping clothes in it.
Wow.
And then hang them out,
You can create your armor, your stainless steel clothing.
And I would say that it was armor. Like if I were going out for like a paintball expedition, I would definitely dip my clothing in rice first beforehand.
Wow.
Basmati's like 8 to 12 minutes based on quantity because it takes less water. Okay. I don't think I've ever made basmati because it's just like I'm cheap.
I've only ever seen it in the supermarket and gone, there are other types of rice, but which one's long grain is cheapest. Okay. So, I think basmati is the one that's usually used in curries, right? So when I get a ready meal curry or just from a restaurant or something, that's probably the one I eat. It's nice, tasty.
I like to make myself a good curry too. When I decided I wanted to know how to make curry, I just bought like all of the spices that go into curry, not knowing how they were supposed to mix, and just started experimenting with them. I didn't want like curry spice mix. No. I want fenugreek and turmeric, and I always put in a little bit of tahini. I use tahini like it's... I use it... I would say like it's peanut butter, but I use tahini more than I use peanut butter. But tahini being ground sesame seeds, that is like peanut butter, except that it's, much more oily and liquidy and that kind of thing. But tahini goes into a lot of Mediterranean dishes. But I use it just everywhere. It's great. Like it's such a good thickener and bonding agent as well. But yeah, I got all the spices for it and have been just playing with those. Fenugreek is so light and powdery. And then what's the one that tastes like black licorice? That you just need the tiniest bit. You make something it's really spicy.
Star anise, right? Or something.
No,
like
but that one is
Plus.
That's got the same thing going on. Anise, or anise. I don't know, but I've always called it anise. But that's also anise is like good at making your mouth numb, like the.
Definitely. You get like a little pod of it in a curry, and you just accidentally end up chewing it, and it's like, oh god, my mouth is just...
There's the like healthful organic, we don't use any weird chemicals toothpastes and stuff, or just like anise seed in a paste. And it's like numbs your gums as you're brushing your teeth. But yeah, what the fuck is it that I've got in the cupboard that I put in the things? It's total black licorice flavor too. But you just put a little bit of that in there sort of to counterbalance all the cayenne that I dump in. I like a spicy curry.
That laugh made me think that someone had just subscribed. It's the same laugh. Exactly the same laugh. To answer Cool Dude N Sep, Cool Dude N Cap, whatever, the person doing the zoom in feature is Houston, who is our technical producer of the show, and he monitors and does all the audio and stuff. And Houston is actually here with us. He's over there somewhere.
Yeah,
how you doing, Houston?
Oh no, that's his office over there. That's his office.
Don't look at me.
No, I wasn't looking at you. I don't know why you thought I was. I was looking at you. That's weird. What?
Sorry about that.
Okay, so you were confused. Okay. I mean, it was basically your fault.
Not my fault.
All right, Houston. I don't know.
He's not feeling very cooperative today, apparently.
I've so infrequently went to our sound bites for Houston, I don't even know what the hell he has to say anymore.
Feel like I need a shower
trying.
now.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. That was a good one.
I'm trying to force you to use them more.
Yeah, because I pretty much abandoned writing scripts for him at the beginning of every show. I just can't. This is a lot of work. Do you know how many, like, we only have a week to prepare for the next show. Do you know how many days it took me to figure out all the things that I wanted to say about pressure cookers and basmati rice and sushi? I've been writing for weeks in order to be ready for this show. What are you doing?
Someone
Giant
said my
cup.
mug looks huge.
Bring the
is
mug
huge.
in close again. I want to see it. Large mug. Do, 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 do. We're gonna need a bigger boat and some basmati rice and a topic for today's live stream. We don't really need it, actually. I'm quite happy to sit here and keep talking about the things that are in my cupboard. I'll tell you, one of my big ingredients is instant mashed potatoes.
Oh, okay, that's funny you should say that. Recently I donated to a food bank thing that some women had set up in the front of Tesco's and were taking donations. And most people were just kind of taking this leaflet they gave out. And the leaflet had like, oh, if you would consider donating today, then these are the kind of things we'd be looking for. And people were just taking it and kind of walking on. And I initially did the same, realized it was a massive fucking list, and I just thought, surely the people who do donate, which is going to be very few, surely they're going to tend to donate a few of the things on here, just some sort of psychological reflex to it. And so what I did was I went back and I said, hey, you should know, right? Which ones of these do you actually need more than the rest? I can't remember what the exhaustive list was, but they said of the kind of 10 items that were on the list, what they needed most and they didn't get enough of from people was, a dehydrated milk or powdered milk or whatever it was, or UHT, which is long life milk, and instant mashed potatoes. That was the other main thing that they wanted the most. So
I eat like a homeless
I got
person.
them some UHT. I mean, that makes sense considering that you have been homeless before. I guess it stick to they or.
I think it's a really good, instead of being stuck with the taste of flour for a thickener, or trying to do something with just all of the powders that you can put in order to like thicken something. Of all of them, like freeze-dried mashed potato flakes have their own flavor. It's a nice flavor. It's a mild flavor. It's round. It's smooth. It doesn't impose itself upon the flavor profile that you are going for. I enjoy it. I use that a lot. You know what I do actually with ramen? So, I'll get the ramen brick, the cheap, Maruchan ramen. Now that my local store isn't selling like the really cool, I have no idea what it is because it was all written in, Middle Eastern languages that I can't read. But I really liked their spice packets that came with that. Good MSG in that son of a bitch too. That's the thing to like bear in mind is that's the secret. That's the trick of ramen,
Yeah.
Why does this taste so good? Monosodium glutamate.
Yep.
It is MSG in those little tinfoil packets. And
there was
good.
a long time when they were cutting that stuff out of a lot of food across the UK. But it still got through in the Asian imports. And I can only assume that the reason it was still getting through in the Asian imports was because the regulators couldn't read Chinese or Japanese or whatever it was. Ingredients. Well, it doesn't say MSG on here, so yeah.
Yeah, we had a big, just social kind of, MSG, and mainly because certain people have, are basically, mildly allergic to MSG and get, bad headaches from it and stuff like that. So there was a big, is there MSG in that? Is there MSG in that? It never seemed to catch up with Maruchan and ramen noodles. But when I make ramen, I'll throw half a can of just, water's just, canned tuna in water, not oil. If you get it in the oil, there's something wrong with you, man. But half a can of tuna goes in there, and then there'll be a little bit of mayo. But like at the end of the thing, I will just throw in some mashed potatoes with whatever other spices I've added to the already dense monosodium glutamate mixture, in order to thicken it up a little bit, turn it into a more of a stew than a soup. It's good.
So give me this exhaustive recipe because I want to try this. Tuna in water, not oil, because something's wrong with you if you do that. With mashed potato
Yeah.
and
like a dollop of mayo will go in there. I will almost always put just like, not the spice mustard, because I've got the spice mustard. No. Actual just like mustard from the thing. There's be
and this is
circle
like
that
American
in
mustard, right? So French mustard, that stuff, is it?
Yeah, just American mustard. Just, if you want to make your own, apple cider vinegar, mustard, and the color orange. Then there you go, mustard.
Orange? Isn't it yellow?
I mean, it comes out yellow, but I'm pretty sure that the coloring base is turmeric, which is quite decidedly an orange. But yeah, I just, that kind of stuff, put some corn and peas in there. I mean, that's the good thing about ramen noodles is that it's got the spices already in it. Some cayenne, because I want the spice, I want the kick. Anything on top of that will usually be, I'm going a little bit far. But one of my, main ingredients in the kitchen, always, apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar allows me to, the tartness, and you just use a little bit of it, but the little that's in there, I can only describe it as as though it's the period in that comedy sketch about, the comma and the semicolon and then all that kind of stuff. The apple cider vinegar allows me to put that much less salt into what I'm eating. Because I'm very low sodium, just generally. I just learned it at the Zen Center to be very low salt. But yeah, the apple cider vinegar adds a pop, a zing, a flavor that kind of draws out other flavors to it, and then I don't have to put as much salt in to make things.
That's also very Chinese family cooking. They use a lot of apple cider vinegar as that extra little thing, which I had no idea. Because I don't think most people would really associate it, but this isn't actually apple cider vinegar. This is just plain vinegar. But went into this family-run Chinese restaurant and we ordered dumplings, and I was expecting soy sauce and chili sauce or something, but the first thing it came with was just vinegar, and I thought that was really weird to begin with. And so we kind of said, could we also have some soy sauce, thinking that was kind of the more normal thing. And so the woman who was cooking it kind of said, would you not want the vinegar? That's like the best way to have it. Really? So we tried it. We did blind taste tests right there to compare which one we preferred. And hell yeah, man. I don't know if I'm just crazy and sheltered for not knowing this, but Chinese dumplings, vinegar, way to go. Absolutely. It's just, there's something about that kind of acidic, the soy sauce is basically just salt and some other soy flavoring, but the vinegar gives it like a really cool acidic kind of to it, to use your terminology.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that either. I did not know that. Yeah. I do. That's the thing is, though, when I go out to eat and stuff, even just at a Coney Island or something, I feel a little bit bad putting condiments on things. There's just this slight thing in the back of my head. You go out and just even just eggs and hash browns and stuff, and I feel like I have to look around and make sure the chef isn't watching or anything, before I dump ketchup onto. Yeah, and I always, at this point in my life too, I always try everything on my plate without anything added, even if I'm I like my eggs with ketchup or something like that. I don't care. I will try them first and be like, these are good eggs. Chef, look at me. Look, I'm eating them. These don't even need any condiments. Okay, is he gone? All right, let's get the ketchup back.
That was whipped into me since childhood. Trying the food before adding anything to it. My mum took great offense, and still does take great offense if you don't eat the food she's given you as is before you say, could we have a little bit of chili sauce? No, it's fine how it is. You haven't even tried it yet. Try it at least. So yeah, I get that. Do you do it purely just for the kind of social, like, oh, is he watching, or do you genuinely want to appreciate the manner in which it was prepared, or is it just?
It's more, I would say it's more
look polite.
It's more genuine appreciation, which I picked up after, in the Zen Center, the way that we paid the bills was running a food business. And at the end of the day, when everybody else had left and they had no other option, I became the commercial kitchen manager. And so, like, after being a person who was responsible for recipes, and we also ran, like, a little restaurant on the weekends where people come down into our basement cafe and stuff like that. And, yeah, having been in a kitchen and been a server and been the dishwasher and all the things, I did develop, like, God, fucking try it before you fucking... Just don't douse it with mustard. Jesus Christ. We worked hard on that shit, But actually, Sir Chappington has reminded me as well, saying people love vinegar on the blandest food in Britain. I can see it working wonders on dumplings. Reminds me of the fact that you guys have some like non-vinegar vinegar or something, right? Isn't there? There's something like with your chips, and it's like it's not what it says it is, and it's illegal that they say that it's that, but nobody really minds. Like they put it out in all of the chip shops as the... What would be the condiment at the chip shop,
really? Well, vinegar, but as far as I know, it's just vinegar. Like, I didn't realize there was some big controversy over...
There's some kind of... I swear to God, there's some kind of, like, chemical that's... It's not even really what it says it is, but it's cheaper. Well, vinegar and people actually prefer it more to vinegar.
It's ethanoic acid, isn't it? Vinegar. Is it ethanoic acid? That's what...
Okay, well, that's racist, first off. You're being ethanoic about this. That's... I swear there's something about that. You know why? You know where I get all of my, like, British factoids and shit? Tom Scott. Vinegar, chips, something like that. YouTube's going to pull up the fake vinegar in British fish and chip shops, and that's where I get all of my information.
Non-brewed condiment is a malt vinegar substitute created with water, acetic acid, flavorings, and often caramel color, sometimes used in fish and chip shops in the United Kingdom and Ireland.
It's fake. It's hashtag fake vinegar. It's an ethanol base, is random aim. So we can propel our cars with it. Right?
Yeah. Wow, I mean, I wasn't even aware of that, but part of me goes, oh, shock, and part of me goes, it tastes like vinegar. So
yeah, and apparently that's sort of the thing.
Acetic does equal ethanoic. Okay, interesting.
Just doesn't matter. Like, nobody really gives a damn. Technically it's false advertising to call this vinegar and put this out in vinegar and all that kind of stuff. Nobody gives a damn. We like it. Shut up.
There's a scale of false advertising, and on one end you've got vinegar and what is pretty much for all intents and purposes still vinegar, and on the other end of the scale you have meat, which is labeled as being beef and is actually horse meat.
I was going to say on the other end of the scale you have buses telling you about the hundreds of thousands and Brexit and things like that. That would be the other end of the false advertising scale.
Yeah, 350 million for the NHS every day or something like that. Yeah. Oh, I tell you what, I listened last night. Finally, I was a bit overdue. I listened to the most recent big debate, public TV live debate between our two-party political leaders, Boris Johnson, current PM, and Jeremy Corbyn, leader of the opposition, Labour Party. And God, I came out of the debate not any more informed about political policies or views, or not any more swayed towards either candidate, just more despising of politicians. So their debate directly did the opposite of what both of them were hoping to do. all of it, I think, was the fault of the people who were broadcasting the debate, because it was, you have the one moderator who is asking the questions of both candidates, and she's trying her best to kind of wrangle them to stay on time and to stay on topic and all that. But there's only so much she can do because they're constantly shouting over her. What I would have done, put each person in a glass box, soundproof, with a microphone. Give them the amount of time that you give them for whatever question. If they go more than 5 seconds over that time, mute the mic. Just talk all over you. Just mute the mic. Second thing I would do, if they go off topic from what you've specifically told them that they are to talk about, mute the mic, goes to the other person. And third thing I would do is that they've got a live audience in there, which is very great, emotional. Like, oh, you get the real reaction of real people who are there live. But it just means that you've got half of the room support one guy and the other half of the room support the other guy. And when it comes to their person and say, so what would you say to all these, the problems we have with the NHS, where people are waiting 8 hours for their surgeries and they're not being seen by anyone? And they go, well, I think it's terrible. And everyone goes, oh, yeah, I think it's terrible too. Wow, yeah, go Jeremy Corbyn, yeah. Jesus Christ. I hate the debate format that we have, and it's probably even worse in America, right?
We don't have debate format. We have advertising in the form of a debate thing. Basically, that's all we have. Nobody really talks about anything in particular. You know, the whole goal of American politics is not to take a position. If you can successfully, speak at great length without actually saying anything, then you are more likely to be elected by this, populace who needs to have all of their frozen foods pre-cooked, or else they'll fucking poison themselves. It is totally the campaigning position of everybody in this fucking country, that, and it's reasonable. It is, if you don't have any morality or decency or give a shit about democracy or anything like that, then it makes perfect sense. The less that I say that you could potentially disagree with, the more you can fill in the gaps and the blanks yourself. And then, if I don't mention the existence of, if somebody asks me about abortion and, I just managed to talk around it without actually taking a position or saying anything for like 7 minutes until people are just like, what were we even talking about anymore? Then boom, you're the new chancellor we don't have chancellors, but you're in charge now. Actually, when you were talking about British politics, I was thinking of, I watched Nerd Cube, Dan Hardcastle, and there was some time ago, like they were playing Jack and what is it called? Is it?
It is Jack in the Box.
You don't know Jack.
The lying game.
Yeah. Something like that. They were playing like the lying game on stream with him and his dad and his mom and his wife, and they were all playing together. And it said like the question was, name something you'd like to throw off the something tower, and both of them, but it was, I don't know, off of some tower. Both of them, both Dan and his father, put in the answer Boris. That was, and it was just like, oh wow, you see where the mind starts, and just brilliant.
How long ago was that? Was that before he became PM?
Oh god, it would have had to be like 3 months ago, I would guess.
Oh, okay. It might have been around the time then. I don't remember exactly when that happened. Yeah. One of the things that happened in the debate, because it's always nice to do these more human touch kind of questions where they say, okay, so leaving aside politics, leave aside your political policies and your political views, just to try and get more in touch with the human side of this debate. If you had to leave a Christmas present for the other, for your opposition, what Christmas present would you leave them? And so the first guy says, oh, I would leave him a copy of A Christmas Carol so that he could see just how nasty Scrooge is, and compares him to Scrooge. So sure, that's pretty witty. That's fine.
And then their part of the audience is like, fuck you, motherfucker.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Boris Johnson comes back with, well, I suppose that I would, well, if we're going on a literary sense, then I would leave him with a copy of my new deal with the EU so he can read it.
Plugging your own book in
Leaving aside politics. It was funny because before watching the debate, someone at my work told me about that. And before they could tell me what Boris Johnson had said, I said, oh, I know what I would have got for Jeremy Corbyn for Christmas under the tree. Would have been a red onesie. Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, red is in like
because the
communist
Tories.
red. And
okay. I have no idea. I have no.
Labour left kind of. Red is the color.
And all you had to do to like
as well, right?
win that moment when one dude's like taking the opportunity to be like, stick it to you and that kind of thing. All you have to do is like be like, I would give him like, and just say something nice. Or just like, I've actually had this really nice platter of like sausage and cheeses and stuff, and that's really good. I usually send that to people that I like, so I'd send them one. Just be like a nice person genuinely in that moment, and boom, you defeat all of the snarky, like, well, I'd send him a copy of the fucking British so he could read it outside of politics.
I agree with you in principle, but I think what they're also terrified of happening is that they choose something off the top of their head which sounds innocuous, and then some minority of people complain about it viciously. Like you said, I had a nice sausage and cheese platter. Well, that's the vegetarians and the vegans ruled out. And don't you know how badly abused animals are and the terrible practices which go into making sausages?
I mean, that basically sums up our political system. Just don't say anything. If you could just keep smiling. Thumbs up. Jesus Christ, Harvey, we have a picture of our president after a, shooting in a Walmart, standing next to a child that has lost its parents because they died protecting their child, an orphan baby. We have a picture of our president standing next to that orphan. Thumbs up, big smile. America, we did it. We saved the baby. Parents are dead. What the fuck is going on? Like, I need asylum. Is what I'm saying. I really, really, really mean it. I'm not interested in America when I think about like places I would like to live that aren't Detroit. Detroit is actually my like top of the list at this point. Outside of this country, I would want to go to what do you got in Canada? You've got, they call it the LA of Canada. It's on the west coast. It's Calgaronto. It's over there. It's just under Alaska, underneath the. I would go there, but I'm not even that interested in fucking Canada. I want Europe. I think Spain, maybe. It sounds cheap, and that's a big part of my needs. It sounds cheap. It sounds like they have good weather. It's affordable. I can't just keep saying cheap, right? But no, like
it's
good
cheap,
weather.
It's affordable. It's accessible to people with low income.
And in terms of having to like learn another language, Espanol, donde es tu biblioteca? I can do that. It's not fucking Korean or Japanese or, other alternatives like French. No, I'm not going to learn fucking French. Are you kidding me? Spanish, I can deal with. I can, like German, Scheißkopf. That's as far as I go with German. But Spanish, I can do,
Why is it you can do Spanish? Have you been taught that? Or
I had a year in high school of Spanish, and I had a year of French in college, which is supposed to be the topic of this thing.
Hey, so long as we keep vaguely alluding to it, we can get through this entire show.
Glancing off the side. Bing, bing. But yeah, in college I had a year of French. In high school I had a year of Spanish, and I absolutely retained more Spanish than I did French. The most I can do in French is to order an omelet with cheese and ham and cheese. I could get a beer. I could order like red wine, and then I'm done. You know, in Spanish I could probably like get you to the biblioteca if you need, you know, ¿Dónde es tu biblioteca? Okay, derecho?
Library.
Aquí? Yes. Yes, it is library.
Bibliothek, that's the same word that's used in German, I think. Bibliothek, is it? Yeah, national bibliothek is national. Yeah. Huh.
We learned something today. All right, good live stream. We do need to take a break. We usually have a break about the middle of the live stream, and we reach the middle of the live stream without having to talk about our main topic for the day at all, and I'm loving it. Challenge next stream.
We've done this before.
He speaks Spanish for over 15 minutes. No, but like it's conversationally, I could totally get away with like the important stuff, you know. Where's the bath? Baño es? And it just I can work that situation. I'm thinking Spain, but generally I need asylum in any European country. I don't even want to come to your country, Harvey. Like fucking Britain, you guys are fucked up, man, trying to leave the EU. I want to be part of the EU. I want to be part of that like inspirational organization of like, yeah, we're all a bunch of like individual countries, but we can come together while maintaining our unique individuality culturally, but we can have these agreements and we can slowly grow the world into a better place that looks more like Jean-Luc Picard's Star Trek universe. I don't want to be part of a racist, backwards, fucked up system anymore, and you guys have started, you're modeling yourselves after us. I need to get the fuck out. Ireland looks nice too. I'll say that, but
And on that note of getting the fuck out, let's go to a live stream break.
oh, okay.
Kidda Bob, we did indeed set it for 7 minutes, and we have some lovely music to play for you to facilitate that 7-minute pee. So the gods of mercy have decreed that you get an extra 2 whole minutes to empty your bladder, because we know it was taking some of you longer than that to get
And
that thing.
because sometimes it comes out the other end, which Harv knows something about after getting food poisoning. 7-minute break, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. Harv and Pawn not out. We're back. Oh, did I press the wrong button? Okay, shut up. We're back. It's the Harv Pawn Show. It's a new 7-minute break. I didn't know what to click, so I just pushed all the buttons, and we're here. You're welcome.
We've been sat here for the past minute while Pawn has just been pressing different buttons and trying to find the right one.
You mean Houston. Houston's been pushing those buttons. All right, what are you going to do now, Houston? What are you going to say?
Yeah, no, beans are sorted by size by the grower as a part of quality control, but even within any bag, there's going to be a little bit of variation, and so I was picking through, like, within the... There's a lot about coffee, isn't it?
The fuck are you talking about, Houston?
Wait, why is that one still on your soundboard?
Why wouldn't it be? I know, because I never got to use it. I recorded an extra little skit for him that was an extra little bit I tacked on at the end in case anybody was actually like a coffee aficionado. During the thing where Houston went off on a long coffee rant, and because he's talking about the sizes of beans, and if people called him out on that, I had this thing stored up. So now we got to hear it anyway.
I remember you saying that. Yeah.
There's all kinds of work you guys don't get to see unless you support us on patreon.com/HarvandPawn, where you'll find not that, but other things that are behind the scenes. See, I can turn it into a pitch.
And such a high-effort pitch it was.
I've worked hard for that one. Oh, God, hang on. In fact, I took something out of myself there. I just need to refuel. There we go. Okay. We'll just get going again. Kidda Bob thought we caught Houston while he was on the phone. I should record that. That's a good one, Kidda Bob. I should have that on hand where it's just, Houston, what are you doing? And then I'll just put this on you, Harv, while I do the...
Sure. So if you just bring those over at 3 p.m. because I'm trying to move out of my place before the landlord catches up with me. Oh, sorry, hang on, my boss is talking. What do you want, Harv Pawn?
Nothing. We're fine. It's cool. You can carry on, Houston.
The funny thing is that
I pressed the right buttons.
Time I heard a little bit of a double echo. I never usually hear a double echo when you do it. So
I try to remember to leave an extra second or so for that when it kicks in. Does either of you know why the bot is still inactive? This is Kidda Bob, and there was a dual sound. Yeah, it happens. The bot, because it was kind of hastily rushed together. We started doing Harv and Pawn. I was like, hey, Noah, could we throw a bot up on Harv and Pawn? He's like, yeah, sure, maybe. And he cut a bunch of code out of it to try and make it work, and it's never been stable, and we just gave up on. We don't need a bot here. We got enough people in chat. You guys are all bots. Hashtag something.
We don't get enough of viewers that we would need a bot to moderate those people.
Oh, it's Houston's fault somehow. It is.
Houston's fault
about
for.
Yeah, there we go.
No, you better be sorry, Houston. Your fault for doing a lack of proper marketing and advertising, which is not our responsibility. That's why we haven't done it. Surely it's the producer of the show's responsibility to do.
Yeah, I'm way too busy. I got too much basmati rice to think about. So we're supposed to talk about college and university today, as was the topic that you selected if you're a subscriber, Patreon supporter, money for us, and so forth and so on. University and college. I was interested when we did start talking about this amongst ourselves to find out that it sounds to me as though in the Europes, you guys like get an education that is pretty much complete before university begins, whereas in America, if you want to actually know anything about anything that's real, you kind of have to go to college, because I'll tell you what, they are not going to mention the true horrors of the American history in your American history class in high school. You know, there's not going to be a lot of conversation about the fucking cholera blankets and shit with the Native Americans and the actual death. Like, they'll mention it, but they're not going to go into slavery and, you know, even Hitler, they're dancing around it because they know some people's dads are going to be like, don't listen to them, the Jews are the problem. So you're not going to get a real education in American education system unless you go to college. I remember actually my first 101 poli-sci course at college, because I did it for a year before I realized it was a waste of my fucking time and money. But in my first poli-sci 101, the professor started talking about how, like, in the Federalist Papers, in the Constitution, and in all this kind of stuff, the system was designed, the Electoral College, the votership was expressly designed so that those dumbass citizens of the country, the fucking ship farmers out in the fields, would not actually have control over what happened in the country. Like, they didn't want the citizens to have a democratic process by which their decisions actually counted. They needed to, they you know, built our whole system to make sure that there was an ivory tower. There were, you know, the laureates of the age were making the decisions for everyone else because they didn't have any trust in the citizenry and the population, and I can't necessarily blame them. But I remember him saying that, and then I just, like, I was trying, this particular professor was the kind of guy like me who you get him on any little topic and he'll go off for like 45 minutes and forget that there was supposed to be like homework. So I just, like, you know, shot my hand up and was like, so you're saying that they intentionally undermined the democratic process from the outset of the country? And this one instance, he did not go off for 45 minutes. He just looked at me and was like, yeah. And
that's how you know that you've given him something that's just too. There's only one answer. You know, there's no room for debate or theology, like theoretical discussion. It's just like, yep.
Yeah, he actually asked me why, and I was like, I was just trying to start a conversation. No, this doesn't matter. Never mind. Go on. I liked him, though. He was a good professor. I used to, like, catch up with him outside of class and just chat politics with him. And I'm sure I made him very uncomfortable because at that time in my life I had also just seen the Train Spotting movie, you know, Train Spotting.
Oh,
and so,
I've seen it. I've seen both of them. First one was better, but yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'd just seen it, so I was just, like, obsessed with the accents and stuff, so, you know, he'd talk to me, we'd, like, chat for a half an hour after class, just passing time as we were leaving class and stuff like that, and then I'd come into class and ask a question, and I'd do it in the accents from Train Spotting, and be like, it's a shite state of affairs, Tommy! And he'd be like, what the fuck is going on? I just talked to this guy outside for, like, an hour. Don't throw the mug, you shite cunt, you know, and just stuff like that, and be like, what the fuck? Like, and yeah, and I wouldn't, you know, curse in his class or something, but I would put whatever my question was in that accent, and his internal process must have just been, what the fuck is wrong with this guy?
Are you saying that democracy was inherently flawed from the outset?
Basically that, yes. I'm just trying to teach a class here. There's like 90 people in this classroom. What the hell is wrong with this kid?
You talk about the kind of gaps in American education, and I noticed that you mostly focused on history there. And in terms of history on our side of the pond, I think we have our fair share of gaps. There's a lot of stuff where it's like British history, so the kind of the royalty throughout the era and the Tudors and that kind of, you know, we do
Just
some
people seeing things and going, that's a nice bit of Africa. Think I'll take it. More tea.
Actually, surprising. I think this is probably somewhat indicative of the modern day perception of the colonial empire, there was really very little on the colonial empire. I don't think I got taught anything about the British Empire really, other than, oh, we maybe owned India at one point, but it's not really that big of a deal. We'll just push that under the carpet. And yeah, so we learned about like ancient Greeks and Romans and that kind of stuff very briefly. The Tudors, I remember quite well. And then there was a little bit on World War One, kind of start of secondary school or high school, and a fair amount on World War Two. And it's interesting because I was actually just watching a video earlier talking about the 20th century and World War Two, and how exclusively, and apparently this is the same in kind of North America, exclusively World War Two is Nazi Germany. And the kind of military conflicts between the West, the Allied and the Axis powers. And it's kind of the very Europe and that side, Western Europe kind of focused. And this has been playing on my mind for a while, that I've realized that I don't know any real history about kind of the Soviet Union and like Mao's communist China and the more communist end of the atrocities that happened in the 20th century. And it's all fascist, Nazi Germany that I know about.
Because actually, who was it? I mean, Russia was responsible for more, like, for more deaths. Like, they had a higher death count, the Soviet Union, rather, than
internally,
like...
just within their own country, they killed approximately 60 million people over a period of about 11 years, I think it was.
Yeah, and these are definitely not facts that I picked up during my education. This is like, I watched a YouTube video and they told me that if you add up Hitler and like Japan and all the things that they did, it's not half as bad as what, it's like, yeah, it was completely about Hitler and Nazi Germany and the poster child of fascism and dictatorial reign. And that's actually a big part that's absent from ours is also like the 1950s and the Red Scare and, Cold War era politics and stuff like that. I think primarily because there was so much horrible, fucked up, shitty shit going on both sides. And because if you start talking about the Cold War in any depth, then you find out that once America, had suspicions that the Soviets were, were coming up with programs where they had super soldiers and doping people and shit like that, then you have to talk about how the Americans, after they suspected that was going on, immediately started doing the same shit. How the successes of Soviet propaganda inspired a wave of American propaganda where actually I just learned about how, like, the arts, there was a heyday of arts for American culture, and it was a direct result of, like, the CIA responding to Cold War era, like, communist propaganda by funding liberal arts in order to just have a counter narrative out there with just hundreds of millions of dollars that we don't see anymore because now the Cold War is over and so the liberal arts are in decline. It's just really fucking interesting to see how
I didn't know that, but
Secret Service really shit has shaped the culture from the Cold War. Nothing that got mentioned in your education. We really do in this country, if you want to know what actually happened, you kind of do have to go to college or just start watching YouTube videos. And that's kind of where the topic of today comes up, is how useful is college and university considering the immense fucking cost, the lifelong debt that you tend to, throw yourself into in countries where the education is not just supplied as a public service. Do you need this? What is the virtue of it? Couldn't you get all of this elsewhere? As Ben Affleck, or no, it wasn't, Matt Damon put it, for the cost of, $2 worth of library fees, I've gotten all of the education that you will pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for.
Interesting. So there's kind of two ways to think about this, and I think it quite nicely mirrors our two countries in some ways. Because I don't know too much about the American college system, other than what you've told me and what I've picked up from kind of other American YouTubers, I guess. So, from my understanding, you guys have college, which you go to as kind of the next step after, well, I guess, high school. Is there an intermediary between high school and college, or is it just
No,
straight to
not really.
college?
Like culturally speaking, there are technical colleges, but if you're going to go to technical college, then you're probably not going to go to college. You know, that's a industry
Right.
specific thing. So yeah, it's high school
So
then college.
how old are you when you go to college then?
You tend to graduate high school at 18, and you know it's encouraged that you are in college also at 18 or 19.
Yeah. Okay, so it is the same starting point for university because we have secondary school, which is what we think of as equivalent to your high school, but that only really goes up to 16, and then you have sixth form, which is 17, 18 for a couple of years. So in our sixth form, we already start to specialize down, and you kind of pick. Once upon a time, it was 5 A levels. Now it's 4 A levels. Now I think it's maybe even 3 A levels. I ended up not graduating, but qualifying out of sixth form with 3 A levels in maths, further maths, and physics. So 2, you might say, or even 1.5, because physics is kind of just maths but applied. So you can say I really quite specialized quite early on. I was 17 to 18 years old, and then went to university at 18 and studied computer science. Whereas I know that you go to college and it's kind of you just sitting there like, oh, I could go to this 101 or this 101 or, oh, and thank you, Balthazar228 for donating $5. Holy crap.
Yeah,
Thank you,
now I
man.
have to open up the Streamlabs interface to see what you said because I realize I don't have it open. So carry on. You keep talking so while I do things in the background.
Okay, well,
and apparently I've
had
broken
just about
everything,
finished
too.
and was asking you. I
Oh,
was
what?
asking you for the system of American education, but from what you've told me, it's that you pick different. I've heard of this minor major system, so you kind of try different subjects, and then at the end of the process, you pick a major to major in. Is that how?
I don't even know if
goes?
that's it. Like, I was at college. Here's the thing. Like, my understanding of American college is you come in and there is no, like, incentive to have anything in mind whatsoever. It's just like, you're in college now. Welcome to college. It's a formative experience. Just welcome. Don't worry about majors or minors for your first year or two. It's a 4-year process, so you only get 2 years of specialization by the end of this thing if we do it the way that we're intending. It's like when I hear you describe how it works over there, I'm going, wow, that makes a lot of fucking sense. Whereas we come out of high school and we're, you know, given the suggestion that, no, you're educated now, and to further your education, you know, go to college. Whereas you guys come out of high school and you actually are educated now, and you know, like and you've already started to specialize, and then any additional time you spend in schooling is toward that specialization. Our whole college system is built around like the first 2 years are just 101s in everything, in order to just like widen your view of, you know, the history and just humanity and get a nice wide knowledge base. And then in the last 2 years, it'll be important for you to choose a major and decide what you want that piece of paper to say you got a degree in at the end of the day. But basically, you're just here to drink and have parties and, you know, some casual sex and that kind of a thing. And then in the background, you'll be getting a wider education that's a little bit more specific about things, and it's like if you had kindergarten for adults, is what I would say. Because I think college is mainly sold to the American public as the idea of, so you're still a child, you don't know how to care for yourself, so instead of just like going out getting a job and earning enough money to rent your own apartment and learning how the world works, here's what we can do. Here's an interim step. you can come live on campus where, someone is paying your rent and you have to do your laundry because mom's not around anymore, and you'll have to feed yourself because nobody's cooking and things like that. But at the end of the day, there's still like this system that's kind of like your parents that's still there. I don't feel that it's as much about like getting you to a career as it should be, now that I know that it is elsewhere and for others.
So,
Wait.
I think that pretty clearly...
Before we go too much further, two things. One, I want to read what Balthazar said, but the other thing is I want to read what S5566 said. I think you should go to college depends entirely on your chosen career path. Feel like for some careers where there are formal education, but some are pointless and don't open any doors, and that's basically where I stand as well, is that, yeah, some things you need the college for, other things, and most things, the majority, at least in the American system, you will get the expertise and the knowledge that you need in 6 months of on-the-job training underneath people who already do the job that you would spend 4 years or more getting out of college. And once you get out of college, you'll still have to do those 6 months before you know how it's really done. And we will get to that in just a moment, because Balthazar, when they donated $5, thank you, Balthazar, 228. I tried dropping out to run, jump, and use a grappling hook on top of trucks on highways, but I've fallen a bunch and want to go back to school for a safer option. So you dropped out of college to become a cluster truck speedrunner. I am sorry for having misled you that this is a viable career option for most. That said, thank you for your money. You probably should have kept it. You're going to need a lot of ramen noodles.
You didn't mislead him. You mentioned grappling hook. You don't use grappling hook.
Oh, that's so any percent runner. Okay. There's openings there. There are openings in the market. You can get in. You can get yourself a good retirement plan in the any percent cluster truck speedrunning market if you work for it. If you really hit the pavement.
Thank you again for your $5. So you obviously, Pawn, sound very cynical about the lifestyle of American college. Do you think, putting aside the kind of, your parents aren't around, but don't worry, the state will be your parents now, putting that aside for a bit, do you think that there are any advantages to keeping the options open in that further way and allowing you the greater freedom to purview many subjects and then choose what to specialize in at that age?
I don't want to say anything positive about it, but yes, now that you bring that up, yes. When I did my year at college, or year and a half, I don't even remember. I don't want to remember. But I ended up in a, I think, biology 101 course, and I found myself really interested in, organic chemistry and biology and stuff like that, and found myself, meeting up with again, I just harassed my professors, apparently. I just follow them outside. It's a sheet stain
Can
of
you tell
ours.
me how the female reproductive system works?
That would have been a good question for college. But actually, yeah, no, I followed her out and I was actually asking about, because I was just curious about things generally, what's the difference between heavy water and regular water? I was just asking her, stuff like that. And what was really cool is that this professor was very good as a teacher, just as a professor generally. This was not her subject. She had just been put into it, had to do this one. But she was just a good teacher, generally speaking. So I asked her, what's heavy water? And she's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Follow me back to my office and we'll open up a book and we'll find out. And we did. I followed her back to her office. We looked up what heavy water was. It's got an extra hydrogen molecule or something like that. And I don't fucking remember at this point. Twitch is sending me emails. Might pay that no mind. But yeah, it was, so the idea of having
you just flagged up a bit of a red flag for me. This is actually reminiscent of what I think I mentioned last week, which was about this guy I interviewed for a web developer position who did computer science at the University of Chester, and his lecturer or teacher on the course didn't know the course and was teaching herself at the same time as they were. Now, in the university I went to, which is a fairly good standing university in terms of the rankings, Sheffield, I don't think you would ever get like a supply teacher, someone that's not their subject, giving you the lecture, unless it's like a PhD student standing in who isn't technically a lecturer, but at least has like the knowledge in the correct field.
Yeah, and is already
So
sort of specializing in their own education in that field.
yeah,
Like, this is a
it
course
quite
I took
commonplace
3 years ago, and I'll talk, kind of thing.
Yeah, is that like commonplace that you have people who just kind of? It's like equivalent to our secondary school supply teachers is all I can glean from that, where
Yeah,
you're not doing what
yeah.
you specialized in, even
I
teaching
mean,
wise.
I think for the 101 courses, I think absolutely yes. I don't know that for a fact, but I think yes. I think that there's such a like, this doesn't really matter. This isn't the specialized part of your education. 101 is just to, give you that wide berth that, yeah, they just shove people in there that are like, good teachers. They've got some background and like they can do the job. And maybe sometimes they're not even good teachers. From my personal experience, that particular teacher, like she admitted to me when I was asking her about heavy water that this is not like what I usually teach. But she was teaching it incredibly well because I was interested in it. So, you can have good teachers who aren't specialists in that field because they're good teachers, and she was absolutely one of them. But yeah, I don't think that it's that uncommon in the American education system at any level, including college, to find yourself, being taught from someone who is basically just reading out of the book and telling you to read out of, the non-teacher edition version of the book and file in the paperwork at the end of the day.
Yeah, see, this is kind of a red flag for me because I think if you're going to university to have the experience where someone reads to you from out of a book and then you complete the exercises out of that book, and then maybe at the end you take an exam and maybe they give you a piece of paper and you go away and show that to an employer, then you could get that from home just as easily, provided you have, and this is a big caveat, it sounds like a small caveat, and a lot of people I know say, oh, I could do that absolutely just fine by myself, provided you have the motivation to actually sit down and actually study at home rather than going to university where the system forces you to do it. It's more difficult than it sounds, and it's stupid that it is that way, but that's how human psychology works, apparently. Yeah, if you're going there just for that experience of being taught by someone who is also teaching themselves and doesn't have the kind of depth of knowledge to give you more value than you would just get out of the books, then partly I think that's a strike on the side of universities not being worth it.
And that's additionally, like, the other thing you need is not only the motivation, but like the right mind for the subject. Because, I walked into that 101 bio course or whatever it was and, had no particular interest. And because of the, because the teacher was good at what they were doing and made it interesting subject and made it, communicated it well and wasn't exclusively like reading from the book. But just like was a good communicator, a good teacher, I walked out being very interested in biology and starting to think, oh, maybe I could go that direction. And, if you don't have like the mind for something, but you have the interest for it, you need an educator, you need a teacher, you need somebody who can like translate things from what they are into what your mind wants to process. And if they do that, then you can start to learn the language of what you're interested in. But similarly, if you're in that situation and you just try and teach yourself and you're, going through these dense documents or just they're written in the language of an industry that you don't understand its language yet, but you're very interested in it, you might never, there's a whole path of your life and career and everything that might have happened that won't because you tried to teach yourself. And it really is a pot shot, though. Like, it absolutely is just a, blindfolded thing, just send the arrow in the direction because you've got to, especially in the American system, you got to get lucky. You got to get lucky to find a teacher who knows how to teach, who knows what they're talking about, who can actually, like, work with someone who who can see someone who has a great passion for it, but who doesn't understand the language and translate. And that's not a guarantee. You're going to be paying thousands of dollars per month on a lotto ticket that you'll land on a good teacher. And in the American system, I don't think that's focused on as something to like actually make happen. Colleges are for-profit entities that just want to pack as many kids in as humanly possible into those classrooms and push them through the meat grinder so that at the end of the day, they, collect their parents' money, usually, sometimes the government's money and the loans and that kind of a thing. But sooner or later, that's what it's all about over here, the capitalistic process, and education has not escaped the capitalistic process, especially in universities. And yeah, you are being pushed through an educational meat thresher. It is the drive-through window of edification.
I really like what Sir Emo Chappington's been saying in chat. Hot take, lectures are an inherently trash system and we need to move away from them. Tutoring significantly outweighs lectures. And then talking about his genuinely individualized, guided education. My brother went to Oxford, which is Oxford,
Yeah.
the University of Oxford. And yeah, tutoring was a big part of how they do things there. Partly because you've got the college system, which in itself is kind of interesting, but it meant that he had significantly more kind of one-on-one or one-on-two time, whereas tutor and maybe two students. And yeah, having those individual sessions works a lot better because, like Sir Emo Chappington's just said, when you're sitting in a lecture and you're just listening in a kind of one-directional thing, you're getting a glorified YouTube experience where you could just watch a video of a lecture and get the exact same experience. And in fact, for those of us who have skipped lectures in the past, you sometimes end up doing exactly that because luckily my university had a system where it records all the lectures and puts them online for you to go back to them if you missed the lecture. So we were just watching glorified YouTube videos. But in the tutor sessions that my brother would have, it's far more question answer, kind of real closing the distance on the feedback loop of teaching, comprehending. Is this what you mean? No, this is what I mean. And really closing that loop and getting rapid feedback. And that in particular speaks really well to some research that's been done, I think, relatively recently about how do people actually learn things. Well, what is the best way you can actually retain knowledge? Because, like you said about the capitalistic meat grinder just trying to get the students through there, the hope, I think, in a very kind of Victorian way, is that if we just push them through the system and subject them to a load of knowledge, then it'll just cram into their brains, and then they'll spew it out onto the paper at the end of their exams, and hopefully some of it will stay in there afterwards. So how do you actually retain knowledge and how do you actually learn things? It's active recall. I got this from listening to Ali Abdul, who's a YouTuber and also runs a podcast called Not Overthinking, which is pretty good. But active recall is exactly what it sounds like, where you are asking yourself questions and checking your knowledge and actively trying to recall things. So when you're in that situation with a tutor and they say, okay, well, what do you remember about this? You are forced to actively bring that knowledge back. And the more often you do that, the vastly longer you retain the knowledge in the long term. And it's not linear. It's not like if you recall something twice a week, then you'll remember it twice as long. It's if you recall something the day after you learn it, you will remember it more than twice as much in 10 years' time. And if you do it 3 days after that, you'll recall probably 70% of it. I'm probably getting the exact numbers wrong, but it's drastic how much more you remember just from having to actively recall it. And that's not a system that is catered to by the ecosystem of lecturing, where you sit there, you write down notes, pretty much absent-mindedly. I've woken up at the end of a lecture and gone, "Ha! Someone wrote a page full of notes for me," you know, and then gone home and never looked at those notes again until the exams, when it's like, "Who the hell wrote this garbage?" You know, and even
Yeah,
then,
I
don't go back
actually
to all my
like
lectures.
by the time I started trying to work the college system, I was already pretty good at the things that I wasn't interested in. Um, I I could just like cram the night before, like cram the day before, boom, and ace the test. Like I had learned from my high school education some pretty good memorization skills that, or it was just easy for me, I guess. I just have a good like memorization ability. So yeah, if I wasn't that interested in the topic, the teacher wasn't good. Um, I would just, day before somebody actually asked me to respond, go over the topic material and be like, okay, yeah, 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 yeah. All right, I'm ready for the test now. And yeah, having people would say that it's about you though. You've got to take the active role in your own education, that kind of stuff. But the same people would be saying, but pay someone else thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to educate you. Well, you take the active role, and it's like, well, what are you arguing for here at this point? My general like sense about college, in America is, yeah, if you're going into a specific field requiring a high level of speciality and I mean fucking maths and physics and you want to design rockets, you want to be a doctor, you want to be a lawyer, that kind of stuff, then the education is absolutely required by all of the systems that exist. So yeah, you've got to go through it. But in any industry where you can just get on the job training and train yourself in the background. I mean, even like programming, coding, what you and I are both familiar with and that you are actually professed as, I would say, like, if you end up trying to find employment in that industry, it's because you have already, been passionate about it. You've already spent years of your own time, like, programming and playing with things, and a little bit of education helps. But to invest tens of thousands of dollars into it, like,
Well, with programming specifically, there's kind of two things you got to look at, because you've got web developers and software developers, and then you've got data scientists and computer scientists, and that kind of split of not competency, but what would you call it? I suppose split of intellectual depth as well as breadth of knowledge that's required for in differing amounts for different professions.
yeah,
To be
I
a
could
web
say
developer,
immediately, like, databasing and stuff like that. Designing a database is something where I feel like I would benefit by, a 3-month course or something like that, because, like, a database is going to be, you design them usually because you've got a small project that needs access to information, but you want to design it so that if it suddenly got big, it wouldn't implode on itself. And I've never been able to like put together a reasonable mindset, a reasonable concept for how should this database be laid out, considering all the options I have in, to put it together so that it will actually sustain if it suddenly gets large. There are definitely certain like things that are, you kind of want someone to
even
tell
then-
you how.
or even then, like you said, a 3-month course would probably be enough for that, in my estimation. And like I was going to say about web developers, if you, it's funny that I'm saying this, considering the fact that I recently interviewed 5 web developers and turned them all down for having only done a 3-month course. But if you can get on the job training as after having completed a 3-month course, then sure, I think a 3-month course is probably enough to be a junior web developer if it's a good course. You definitely don't have to spend £21,000 on a 3-year computer science degree to do that. But there are other things in computer science which you absolutely should, I think, do that. And a large part of that is because you don't know what you don't know. And so I think the greatest utility I have got personally out of university has been even within the specialization of computer science, I've been forced to learn at least the theory and the fundamentals about a wide range of subjects within computer science, and to at least learn the existence of an even wider range of subjects within computer science. And I think that's something that university absolutely does for pretty much everyone who goes through the process, at least in the UK, that you don't get by self teaching, because self teaching is quite unreliable in that you pretty much have to stumble across the knowledge. It's very hard to go seeking to have a broad, encompassing knowledge of all things about a subject. I mean, I'm trying to do it right now from a fundamental level for electronics, and I'm really struggling. I've caught myself thinking, God, I wish I could just go on a 3-month course to do this. You know, I want to get at encompassing
Yeah,
knowledge.
and like the wrong or the right Stack Overflow article will just like convince you of something for the rest for years, that like this is the way it's done and this is the best way to do it, and then you'll find out how much time you've been wasting, going through somebody's like very popular and totally incorrect answer on like Stack Overflow. You just go looking for a solution, you get that solution, you're like, oh, that's what I'll use. And then, you put it into practice, and 3 years later, someone's like, you realize that's been deprecated for like 6 years because there's a better thing, and that one's not secure, and it doesn't give you an actual random number out the other end. And it's like, what? But the Stack Overflow article that I read. Yeah, there's definitely a virtue and a benefit to the wider knowledge, and that's why like I feel like the big like a big part of this is the separation between what is apparently education outside the United States and what is education inside the United States, because I feel like our educational systems are ridiculous, and we have more people who are going to college because it's just what you do, going without any sense for what they necessarily want to do.
We have that too.
But we've got a system that's like built to serve and cater to that. I mean, you guys are with the A forms and stuff. We don't have anything like that. High school is just high school. The closest thing that we had to that I got, and I was one of the rare few ones, because in high school, I had the option to be bused to a Pontiac technical school during my, high school day, so that I could go to like a computer repair course specifically, which I was interested in. So I did a 1-year computer repair, basically vocational college while I was in high school. And I was one of maybe 12, 15 kids that were being bused for that computer repair course to this, like technical college for high school students in Pontiac. But you had other students who were coming across for auto repair and stuff. It was basically a high school technical college. It's a brilliant system, but the number of students who were actually getting that was, just the few and the narrow, and the people in between who were already like passionately interested in something that they wanted to start and said, yes, I want to be part of that program. For the 95th percentile of everyone else, high school is just high school. You just do what everybody else is doing until it's done, and they let you go, and you celebrate. Thank fucking God I don't have to be around all these assholes anymore and try and deal with these ridiculous social constructs that don't make any fucking sense. I didn't like high school. I wouldn't do it again.
Oh, I didn't like the assholes at secondary school for sure. I think overall I had probably a good experience. I think it served me fairly well. I didn't feel, in our system at least, and maybe this is because I was already pretty academically inclined. I mean, I had the right parents to kind of foster that attitude, and I was already interested in academic things. But yeah, I came out feeling pretty much like I'd got the wide kind of knowledge that I needed, and maybe I was lacking in certain areas, but I was overall happy with the experience. Anyway, what I was going to say was that you keep on mentioning, and I've thought this a lot as well, that no matter how you can be served by an education system, no matter what the system is, one of the most important things you can do or be is to pursue your own interests and to already be interested in a thing and to already be having passion projects for that thing. And only as I've got older and I've started working in industry has that become even more obvious that that's actually what you need. And the problem is that you don't get that from your education system. You get that from the type of person you are as a child and the type of parents, I guess, you have. So being, I mean, I'll give you a chance just to confirm or deny. You think that, right? That having your own external extracurricular interests and projects is one of the most important things you can do in your kind of educational development, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and
Right.
I hate,
So-
like, I have spoken to so many different young people, people who I've like worked with when I was a janitor and stuff, who are just like, I hear that nursing is a good field. They always need nurses. So I think because I want a job that will always be there and that I can get paid pretty well by, I think I'll go into nursing. And there was this one girl in particular that I was working with who was like, you know, she knew exactly what she wanted to be. She wanted to be a veterinarian's assistant. And isn't that so specific and so wonderful that you know you don't want to be a veterinarian because you don't want to do the education. You're not that, like, you want to be a veterinarian's assistant. The world needs veterinarian's assistants. And if you know that you want to be precisely a veterinarian's assistant and not a veterinarian, then we need you as a veterinarian assistant. She knew exactly that, and then she told me that, and then she followed it up with, but yeah, nursing is, you know, there's always jobs available in nursing, so I'm going to a nursing college next summer. Just like, please, for the love of God, you only get this one life. I mean, you don't. I'm a Buddhist. I'm a Zen Buddhist, so, you know, you'll be back. But, you know, for, like, this life, as far as you know your personality, like, you get this one chance to do what you want to do. If you have an idea of what you want to do, go do it. Find out that you don't want to do it or that you fucking love it and move on. Don't fucking go, oh, but the pay and there's a harder fit. I just want to make sure I always have a job. For the love of God, don't waste your fucking life. Because that's kind of how I see that. I completely derailed what you were going to say, didn't I? What was...
It's okay.
You were
I'll get
talking
back
at some
onto what I
point
wanted
in
to
this
say.
live stream, I think.
But first of all, I want to quote you a lyric. Somewhere in your house, I am willing to bet there's a poster of that grinning hippie from Tibet, the Dalai Lama. Is there a poster in your house of the Dalai Lama somewhere?
No. I just have greeting
Okay,
cards
cool.
from my mom that say things like, grow through what you go through. Which is actually kind of cool.
wow,
She said, yeah, I didn't. It was cool because I didn't notice that I thought it just said go through what you go through. And I was looking at it like, stupid. What the fuck? And then I set it down like several hours later. I come back to it. Oh, grow through what you go. And it's like, oh, yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that.
It
Thank you
did.
very much to Dramatian for the 40 bits, by the way. Cheers for that. Channeling Steve Wright in your commentary, Pawn.
Am I? Okay. Don't waste your fucking life.
Right, let's get back on the railroad from where it was derailed further back in this conversation. What the hell was I saying? Right, we both agreed that having your extracurricular interests and pursuing projects outside of school and outside of uni is, one of the best things you can do, just in terms of educating yourself beyond what the establishment is educating you about, and actually showing future employers that you genuinely are interested and have a passion for whatever it is that you're trying to convince them you're interested in and having a passion for. And there's a whole host of other reasons I could probably go on about if you gave me time to make up some. But
I won't.
if we accept that is the case, which we do, then what do you think the education system could or should be doing to propagate that? Because I popped into my head when we were talking earlier, I was thinking, I did this EPQ at the end of, or throughout sixth form actually, which was an extended project qualification where they basically said, hey, we'll give you a sixth of your time, I think it probably worked out to. Like, it's equivalent to one subject. Just go work on a project and kind of go through a bit of a process, which we're going to vaguely outline. You should do research, and then you should do development, presumably, and then you should evaluate how it went and give a presentation at the end. But otherwise, just pick something, a topic you're interested in, and do a project on it. And a lot of people did that as an easy way out of having to do another subject, I think. And maybe 70% of the class churned out something which was kind of uninspired, and they put all the work in the last few days or whatever. But 30% of the class, myself included, produced something that we were super interested in. I did some virtual reality development stuff, which was all the rage on YouTube for me at the time, so I had plenty to draw from what I'd already been doing, and plenty more to do, which I then turned into YouTube videos and so on. So that was fairly good, but it still only had like a 30% success rate, and it also, I feel, came a bit too late, and it was kind of tacked on. But is this giving you any kind of thought bubbles right now? Do you have any ideas for how you could encourage, it's not necessarily specialization, but some sort of extracurricular project so that people can actually explore in a more practical manner the things that they think they might be interested in?
I think that would come down for America's schools to, I mean, the best thing that we could do is just fucking model our education system, remodel our education system off of what you guys are already doing. Because, like, my feeling about high school was that I hated high school. It was a horrible time. I did not enjoy it. I would not go back. Some people are like, oh, I wish I could go back to high school. Some people are like, oh, I wish I could go back to high school knowing what I know now. No, there is no circumstance under which I would like to go back to high school. It was horrible. It was awful. It was just, it was living amongst a race of horrible beings that did not have any logic to them, that had their own social structures, that you were on a planet where it was like, what? You're just evil, all of you. What the fuck is wrong? Why are you even here? So like, I feel like American education, there is a culture where it's something you go through, you get to the other side, and then you're done. It's not like your system, at least, you know, what you're describing to me sounds like, you know, in this more European system, to be that early on you are encouraged to, you know, what is it that you do enjoy? What do you like? And here, take those courses and focus on those courses, and let's build on what you like. Whereas high school is, in America, is just like, you, by the end of high school, yes, you do get to choose like what courses you take, but you have to fulfill certain obligations and things and meet things. And it doesn't feel like they're preparing you for or helping you to funnel down and channel down and be like, all right, you've got a base education, let's do something now. We just don't do that here. At least that's not the feeling that I got going through the education system. And, you know, my biggest difficulty going through that education system was that I was smart. Like, in 10th grade or something like that, I flunked my first course because I didn't like the teacher, and fuck her. She's not good at what she does, so I'm not gonna fucking do the work. Like, I got sick of being smarter than my fucking teachers and being treated like an asshole, like all of the other assholes who I was around, who all of these other assholes are allowed to be assholes. It was a cultural experience and not an educational one. And, yeah, for like repairing the system or something like that, I think we over here just need to catch up in terms of like, yeah, here, what is it that you're interested in? We've had you do a large width and breadth and show us your interest in whatever it is, go in that direction, and we're going to help you get there. I think the best thing that we have going for us worldwide is technical schools, technical colleges, colleges that aren't the wider breadth. Schools that are like, are you interested in this? Because this is all we fucking do here. and you're not going to get the wider breadth, and you're not going to get like, you're not going to get exposed to something else that you might not know about and that kind of thing. But once you have determined that this is what I want to do, if there's a technical school as opposed to like a large university, I recommend going straight for the technical school. And later in your life, you can come back to university if you want to have that experience or something like that. But getting straight into and diving in and being educated by people who actually do what you want to do, as opposed to people who have read about doing what it is you'd like to do, is, I think, the biggest benefit that you can give yourself going forward in your own education and your own career.
So, my friend Chris, we've spoken a lot about the UK versus the US education system. My friend Chris, his younger brother went, or is still at, I think, a technical college in Austria. The way it works there, or at least the way it works for him right now, is that he goes to secondary school, I think, 1 day a week, or maybe 2 days a week, or something like that, and spends the rest of the time doing this kind of vocational studying where he's also working on actual projects, I think. Certainly he's getting paid for it. And not a small amount either.
Really?
He's getting paid like, I think something approaching minimum wage it works out at. So, you could theoretically live off of what he's getting paid to be learning for. And the way I think about that is that, I mean, that's, for one, obviously that's, from everything we've said so far, that pretty much fits the bill of the success criteria we've outlined for being able to get your breadth and also being able to do something practical and learn something specific. But also the fact that he's earning money at the same time means that if he wants to go to university after he finishes that, he's in a way better position than anyone else, coming out of the UK or the US high school or secondary schools. Actually having some money in the bank, like, so long as he hasn't spent it all, he can put that towards his education fees and not have to get into crippling student debt, which I think is incredible. And yeah, this is, like you've said, that going to technical college is what you'd recommend. We've had an interesting kind of phenomenon in the UK, which I don't know whether it's happened in the US, don't know whether you know, where we had a lot of technical colleges, and one by one they started doing well enough to become more the technical colleges and became universities. So what we have now is a lot of third-rate universities. Where the thing is, they're still usually pretty good at their original core discipline. It's just that there's now a load more spaces for the lots of people who think that going to university is the next logical step after secondary school, whether because they want a career where it seems like it's required, or because they don't know what they want, and so they need to put off finding a job or feel that they need to put off finding a job to figure out what they want. So you've got a load of places in kind of lesser-ish universities, which I don't need to put a disclaimer. I'm obviously not disparaging. Maybe I am to some degree. I mean, what do I know? But still.
Yeah, actually, as
I'm not
you're
disparaging
talking,
people who want to go to university to figure things out, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm thinking
as I'm
like
talking.
the best thing that we could possibly like do around education is just to make sure that, like, to start taking the big chunks out of the cost of education, because that's the biggest factor in forcing people to make their choice and stick with it. Like, whatever it is that you're going to do, go do it and get her done, because this is, every minute that you're there is costing you $100, that kind of a thing. Like, to encourage and promote people to move, to be able to, like, go in, get that, wider breadth, to start in on something, find out that this isn't what I want to do. And then, through their wider breadth, be free enough to say, you know what? Actually, I'm kind of interested over here. I mean, we do have in the States, like, lifelong students who just kind of bounce around forever and never pay back their student loans because they just stay in college, which is a fancy, like, I applaud you for having figured out a way around the system just by staying in university. I'm never fucking leaving, and that way I never have to pay back the $100,000 worth of debt. But, like, just having the freedom to like go and do and find, it's like when you start thinking about that, then you start thinking about whether or not we as a society want to like be a mill of workers. Like, is that what we're doing? Are we trying to design systems that crank out specialists who will do the work that we need done as a society? Or are we trying to enable individual human beings to find and make the most of, you know, their lives and in the process contribute to society? And I, like me personally, I don't think there's a balance to be struck. I think you enable people and let things fall where they may. And right now, the biggest problem with university in this neck of the woods, in my neck of the woods, is that you will be walking out, even from the cheapest ones, in tens of thousands of dollars worth of debt in order to get a degree. And if midstream you find that you're way more interested in something else, you are actively discouraged by your bank account to, you know, change horses midstream. And I would rather live in a world where the people who I encounter doing jobs are there because they want to do those jobs than that they started education in those jobs and didn't have them and just kept on it. I would way more prefer if the people who I have to fucking deal with in life actually give a shit about what they're doing as opposed to got into it because, you know, seems like a stable employment marketplace. I'm sick of dealing with those people.
Nurses are always needed, and lots of nursing vacancies.
It's true.
Yeah. There's a whole load of topics beyond the actual academic side of this that we haven't managed to get onto. For instance, one of the best things about university for me, and it sounds like a bit of a cliche and it kind of harks back to the whole, motivation, you could just do that. I've met friends for life in university that I wouldn't have met if I hadn't gone to that specific university. And I've met people who I absolutely love and I hope I never fall out of contact with. And I've developed socially and become much more confident and all that kind of side of personal development, which I think you could argue the similar sort of stuff would happen at maybe a technical college. So there's a whole host of stuff we could explore that, but it is about getting to the end of the stream, so I think we need to wrap up. We're already a few minutes overdue. 10
So
minutes
here's my
overdue.
wrap up. Because the zeitgeist of America and American education is just go to college, what I want you to hear is don't go to college. Fuck college. Fuck university. You don't need it. You don't need it. There's no purpose in going. Like, I feel more comfortable just generically saying it's not worth it. Don't fuck with it. Just, you know, find a person who inspires you, who does what you want to be doing, and put yourself in their care. You know, just beg them. Just, I will make you coffee. I will run to the store and pick up whatever it is that you want at the middle of the night. Just let me work with you. Do that. You know, be an apprentice to someone who inspires you, who's in the field that you want to be in, and don't go to college. And I say that not because I want everybody to take that advice, but because I feel it's an important counter narrative to the heavy-handed marketing of the American cultural zeitgeist, which is that, you know, you're just supposed to get out of high school and spend $40 to $60 to $80 to $120,000 on college, even though you might not know why. So that's my comfort zone. That's what I have to say about it. Don't go to college. Fuck college.
From the UK perspective and from my perspective, as someone who did go to college, I'd say definitely go if you are really interested in a specific subject, or at least think you might be, and you can see that it's going to improve your life down the line. Definitely do, because I had a fantastic experience at university. I think a lot of people do, and so I would definitely say do it. I would say be cautious about doing it if you're going into a vocation that you think you could get the experience and the training and the education you need at a more specialized institution, which isn't going to cost you as much and is still going to give the same kind of social benefits as a university might give you. And definitely don't do it if you don't see the appeal of it, and it just feels like an expectation. If you want to be a car mechanic, and the world needs car mechanics for a while longer anyway before it all becomes automated. But if that's what you want and that kind of thing, and a more technical, hands-on, you don't need to go to university to study mechanical engineering to do that. Just go do that. And that's a very almost cliche example, but the message is there. If you're in a sort of field or a realm of interest that you could get practical on the job training in, then potentially the best way to do it is to go for that. And don't rule out the option of going back later. Get a little bit of life experience first. What's the harm of doing a couple of years in industry and then going to university? It shouldn't, I don't think, at
Yeah,
least in the UK,
absolutely.
be any harder to do. You might have to fall back on your parents a little bit, so it might depend on them, and it might depend on how much money you can save up before you do that. But student loans have seen me through without having to depend on my parents too much, and that was without any savings to put towards university beforehand. So you should be able to do that. So that would be my overall thing, would be to don't follow the crowd. Think, if you catch yourself thinking that's the logical expected next step, stop yourself and give yourself more thought on it first and consider those factors. Yeah.
God, your version sounds way nicer than mine. Just don't fucking do it is my version. But I'll say that like I went to college for a year and you know, I lost my virginity at college. You know, had some fun times at college. So here's another thing. If you want to get the social experience of college, move to a college town and get a job. And there you go. You know, consider that as an option too, because the social experience of college, you'll be running into people, you have the same fucking conversations about, you know, the guy coming out of his poli-sci class. He's like, did you know that Marxist philosophy was blah, blah? You'll still hear that shit while you're getting drunk. You just won't have to pay $10,000 to hear that shit while you're getting drunk at the frat party, you know? So if you want the experience, move to the town, don't go to college, get a job. You're making
Move to the
money
town.
off of the people who are spending money to be there.
Move to the town, make friends with a student who's doing the course you want to do, find out the timings of their lectures, and just fucking go to the lectures.
Oh,
I
yeah,
swear,
yeah.
in almost all of my lecture buildings, there was no. So long as you dressed like a student and looked. Not even that. You could dress however the fuck you wanted, and you could probably get into those lectures and listen to the lectures.
Yeah, there's no like crackdown on anything. Non-matriculating students, consider that. If you just want the education and don't want to pay, you know, if you don't need the piece of paper but you want it, just show up. Nobody's gonna kick you off campus. I mean, maybe they will, but you know, just don't be selling heroin and they'll be fine probably. They won't even notice you. Or sell them heroin, and then they'll be like, "Oh, cool, heroin. Yeah, you can stick around." I don't know. It depends. It depends on your region. It's a regional recommendation. And on that
There you
note,
go.
on
that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching the show. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider supporting the show at patreon.com/Harv and Pawn, by subscribing here on Twitch, or by donating to us directly, paypal.me/Harv and Pawn, or streamlabs.com/Harv and Pawn.
Yeah, that's it. In fact, check out the
That's
new
it.
panels that I did on Twitch, here on twitch.tv/Harv. Just below, because I just did them this week. They're pretty. I like them.
Yeah, they are. They look really good. Blah. Thanks for watching. So if you enjoyed the show today, please consider supporting us. Thank you to everyone who has supported us today. And regardless, thank you to you who have got all the way through this and have enjoyed, hopefully, and have watched the show today. Thanks for watching. And we will see you next week.
And don't
Bye-bye.
put like Italian spices in rice. It's a bad idea.
Harv Pawn, Harv Pawn, Harv and Pawn, and 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 Harv and Pawn. Harv and Pawn.
And we are clear. Good job, I guess. I wasn't really watching.